At the beginning of the movie, we see a young named Yang, a warrior who was a member of a tribe named SaeFlute. And here, Yang had come to kill the master of the enemy tribe. First, Yang defeats the warriors of the enemy tribe in one strike. After this, he kills the master of the tribe with great ease. Then Yang sees a little girl of the master of the enemy tribe. He thinks of killing her, but seeing the beautiful smile of the girl, he cannot kill her because Yang's heart did not have so much hatred that he could kill a small girl. So he takes the girl and leaves from there. But Yang knew that his own tribe's warriors would kill the girl because she was the daughter of the master of the enemy tribe. But as soon as he goes a little far, the warriors of his own tribe try to kill the girl. But Yang, to save the small girl, has to kill his own tribe's people. Then he kills all the warriors of his tribe, one by one, and leaves. He heads to a small town in America named Lode to go to an old friend named Smiley. After a few days, Yang reaches the town of Lode, where more than half of the houses were broken, and there were very few people in the town. Then, first, Yang meets a man named Ron, who is a #1 drunkard and is always intoxicated with alcohol. Then suddenly a boy comes there. Yang shows him a photo of his friend and asks him for his address. On this, the boy tells Yang that his friend Smiley died 3 years ago and that he used to run a laundry here. Then the boy takes Yang to the laundry and leaves from there. At the laundry, Yang meets a girl named Lin, who is now running the laundry. Then Lin asks Yang, "How do you know Smiley?" On this, Yang tells her, "Smiley was my childhood friend." Then Lin asks him, "Have you come here alone with your daughter?" Then Yang says to her, "She is not my daughter, and her parents have died." Hearing this, Lin feels very sad and decides to name the little girl April. Then Lin tells Yang, "You can stay here, but you will have to help me with the laundry work." Then Yang says, "I don't know this work." On this, Lin says, "No problem. I will teach you the laundry work." The next day, Yang is sitting in the laundry when some boys come and give him clothes to wash and also mock him a lot. Seeing this, the boy from before comes and chases them away from there. Then he takes Yang with him to feed him. Meanwhile, Yang sees him practicing shooting, and then they go to eat. And now, slowly, Yang starts to adapt himself to the environment here. He helps Lin with the laundry work and plays with the locals. Alongside this, Yang starts building a flower garden in the barren desert land, in which all the people also help him. After some time, many flowers grow in the garden. Here, everyone shows a lot of love to the little girl, April. And while staying here, Yang realizes that destroying something is very easy, but creating the same thing requires a lot of effort and time. One day, while Yang is playing with Ron, he notices Lin laying flowers on a child's grave. Seeing this, Yang asks Ron, "Whose grave is she placing flowers on?" Ron takes Yang to Lin's room and tells him that when Lin was 16 years old, a dacoit named Karnal entered the town with his gang, looted people and killed them. Karnal's most disgusting act was lining up all the girls in the town, checking their teeth, and assaulting the ones whose teeth were clean, white, and all 32 intact. One day, Karnal chose Lin to satisfy his desires. At the same time, Karnal's men had captured Lin's parents and younger brother. When Lin was taken to Karnal, she cleverly threw boiling oil on Karnal's face and ran away. This act enraged Karnal, and he shot Lin's father. Then Karnal killed her mother and younger brother, right in front of her eyes. After that, Karnal left with his men. The townspeople buried Lin's family, but Lin was barely alive. She was taken home and gradually recovered. From that day, Lin decided to take revenge on Karnal for her family's death. Later, Yang sees Lin practicing shooting, but her aim was not hitting the target. This made her frustrated, and she said, "I will never become a good shooter." Yang blindfolds her and becomes her target, telling her, "Listen carefully to the smallest movement of your target and then attack the target." Focusing carefully, Lin attacks Yang and manages to hit the target accurately. This makes her very happy, and she thanks Yang, saying, "What I had been trying to learn for a long time, you taught me in just a few minutes." That night, Lin tells Yang that Smiley had already told her about him, and that he was a SaeFlute warrior who would come here someday. She then asks, "Why did you join the SaeFlute tribe?" Yang replies, "When I was a child, one day, while my father and I were working in our fields, a warrior from a tribe came and tested his sword by slitting my father's throat right in front of my eyes. From that day, I decided to become the world's most powerful warrior." After this, Yang shows Lin his sword, which was completely sealed with a sheath. Yang then tells Lin the full truth about April and says, "If I take this sword out of its sheath, the spirits of all the people I've killed with this sword will cry out, and my tribe's warriors will come here to kill April." After that, Yang trains Lin for several days in sword fighting. Then Christmas Day arrives, which everyone celebrates happily, dancing and singing. But suddenly, Karnal comes with his men and starts tormenting everyone. He forces a man dressed as a clown to balance a bucket of water on his head and shoots at the bucket. Then Karnal places a glass of drink on the man's head, and as he is about to shoot at the glass, Ron arrives in a drunken state, first mocking Karnal and then making fun of him. This angers Karnal, and he orders his men to tie Ron behind a horse and drag him around. After that, Karnal lines up all the women in the town again to check their teeth. During this, he finds a woman whose teeth are clean and all intact, but she is married. So, Karnal shoots her and her husband dead. Then Karnal notices their daughters, and he orders his men to clean them up and bring them to him. But instead of the daughters, Lin shows up, dressed neatly. When Karnal's men leave, Lin pulls out a knife and slowly approaches Karnal to kill him. But before she can strike, Karnal points a gun at her. Karnal tells her, "I recognized your scent and knew you were the same girl from 16 years ago." Meanwhile, Ron rushes to Yang and tells him that Lin has gone alone to kill Karnal. To save Lin, Yang finally unsheaths his sword. This alerts the SaeFlute master, who, with his warriors, starts heading toward Yang. At the same time, Karnal's men capture Lin. Karnal is about to assault her when Yang arrives and kills Karnal's men with his sword. Yang confronts Karnal, but Lin says, "I will kill him with my own hands." While they are talking, Karnal takes advantage of the situation, grabs Lin, and jumps out of the window. He mounts his horse and tries to escape, but Lin throws a knife at him, hitting and killing him. However, they soon realize that it wasn't Karnal, but one of his men. Karnal had deceived them and escaped. Yang tells Lin, "My sword is already unsheathed, so my tribe's warriors can come here at any time. I must leave this place, or you all will die because of me." Hearing this, Ron tells him, "Karnal will return with more men to kill us. If you leave, how will we fight Karnal?" Someone says, "How can we fight Karnal without weapons?" Ron points to his wife's grave and reveals that he had hidden many weapons there. Ron's wife had made him promise never to take up arms again, but now Ron had no choice but to break his promise. The townspeople practice using the weapons, and the next day, Karnal arrives with a large group of men. Yang stands ready with his sword. Ron positions himself in a high tower, ready to attack. As soon as Karnal and his men enter the town, Ron fires a bomb, causing a massive explosion that kills many of Karnal's men. In the chaos, Yang attacks Karnal's men. Meanwhile, Ron keeps shooting Karnal's men, and Karnal orders his men to climb a tower and kill Ron. But before Karnal's men can reach the tower, Ron descends using a rope. At that moment, Ron's trap detonates, killing some of Karnal's men. At the same time, the SaeFlute master arrives with his warriors, and everyone becomes terrified upon seeing them. The master orders Ron and the others to take April to a safe place. After this, the SaeFlute warriors attack the townspeople. Meanwhile, Karnal's men start shooting at the SaeFlute warriors. However, the SaeFlute warriors are so skilled that they begin slashing Karnal's men with their swift swords. The SaeFlute warriors also chase after April, but Yang fights them, trying to protect April and Lin. Yang battles his own tribe's warriors, killing them one by one. Seeing this, the SaeFlute master becomes furious with Yang. Yang, Lin, and April hide in a house to avoid the SaeFlute warriors. However, the SaeFlute warriors find them and start fighting Yang. Seeing this, Lin tells Yang, take April to a safe place, and she picks up a sword to fight the SaeFlute warriors herself. After finishing off the warriors, when they come outside, they find Ron gravely injured. Ron tells them that Karnal has taken April away. After saying this, Ron dies. Meanwhile, Karnal takes April into a house and stations his men outside for protection. Soon after, the SaeFlute warriors arrive to take April, but Karnal's men use machine guns to kill all the SaeFlute warriors. Suddenly, all the lights go out, and Yang appears, killing Karnal's men one by one. Yang enters the room where Karnal is, finding Karnal holding a gun to April's head. At that moment, Karnal shoots at April, but Yang quickly deflects the bullet with his sharp sword, saving April. Yang gives Lin the chance to kill Karnal. Lin and Karnal engage in a fight. First, Lin slashes Karnal's leg with her sword, causing him to fall to the ground. Then she kills him with her sword. After coming out of the room, Yang sees the SaeFlute master waiting for him. The master orders Yang to kill the little girl, April, with his own hands. Instead, Yang challenges the master to a fight. The two engage in an intense sword fight, and the SaeFlute master gives Yang a tough battle. In the end, Yang slashes the master's throat. Before dying, the master tells Yang, wherever you take this child, the SaeFlute warriors will find you and kill you. After this, Yang tells Lin, take care of April, because I am leaving forever. The SaeFlute warriors can only find me through my sword. Saying this, Yang goes far away from everyone. A few months later, Yang is seen, living in a snowy region. Suddenly, the SaeFlute warriors arrive there. Yang unsheathes his sword, ready to fight them. And with this, the movie ends here.